Hi, teachers. I'm Walter, and this is EOT in Brazil. I'm here today with my peer, Bruno Buquerque, and we're going to talk about one book that I think every teacher in the world knows it. You know, everybody's got to know this book. It's a household name. It's Interchange. All right. So I'll see you in a second. Roda a vinheta.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Bruno Bouquet here with Walter. And as Walter was saying, today we're going to look at Jack C. Richard's Interchange Intro student book with online self-study. And we'll be analyzing a grammar lesson since we decided to look at other 3 grammar lessons from 3 different books in future videos. So stay tuned.
Just
I think
a
we should.
reminder.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just a reminder. This is not a pirate version. This is a sample unit. And Bruno, what's the level again?
Intro.
Intro.
It's
So it's
Interchange Intro. So it's very likely the first book of the series.
yes.
Huh?
Well,
What do you
Bruno.
think of the layout?
Well, it's certainly improved in this new version.
I don't know. I didn't know the first one, so it looks nice.
Well, I hadn't seen this new version, like this new one, but it's beautiful, right? Everything's up to date. Yeah, pictures. Yeah, I really like the way the things are set. Now you have like grammar focus, and then you have exercise A, B, C. The organization is just neat, right? Very, you wouldn't get lost in the book, right? Very, exercises, the parts are very well separated. So yeah, I do like that. Pair work, group work. I think it looks good. What do you think?
I agree. You know what's silly, but I always like it when student books do it. There's lots of blank space on the edges of the book. I always like that for note taking and drawing and arrows and stuff. I always like it when course books have this blank space on the margins. You know?
Oh man, I never thought of that.
I love it when books have that.
If there is something that students tend to dislike, it's just like the fact that they don't have enough space. But where am I going to write my answer? I feel like sometimes it's like they need more space, and this is like a book in which you do have enough space to write, to take notes and everything. Yes,
and I love
yes,
taking
yes.
notes. So as a student, I would enjoy having these empty spaces here and there to write stuff.
Sure. Bruno, what do you think Richards was thinking when he devised this page, this lesson? Like, what is the approach that he's thinking? Like the teacher who's gonna use this book, what do you think is in his mind?
This is a PPP lesson, right? So present, practice, production. Yeah. So there is a very explicit grammar presentation, which gives students the not the rules, but the way they're supposed to use the language, right? So there is nothing to discover here. This is how you use it. And then I always mix these two up. This is deductive, right?
This is incredibly deductive. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's deductive. So you have the model, and then there is an exercise which there is no room for creativity.
The thing is, in an inductive lesson, you are going from an example that you're gonna work out let me not get those mixed up, because this is the point, right? Deductive, inductive, these things are very confusing. But in a deductive lesson, I give you the rule and you do an exercise based on the rule that I'm giving you. So in here, I'm clearly showing my students, so can and can't. So it's subject, verb, and then you have the modal verb, and then you have the main verb, and then you have the complement. If it's a question, you need to change the order. If it's negative, you need to include that there. So everything is set out for you. Everything is there, right? Very clearly stated, even though there's no explanation written down. But you see that the way they did this, like you have all the subjects, and then you have the modal verb, and then you have the verb. It's pretty clear for to the student where the rule is. So that's a deductive lesson, as opposed to something that is more inductive, in which I make you think about what is the rule, right? So for you as a teacher, what do you prefer when you're using materials? Because
It
I
depends.
think that's the whole point, right? Like
Yeah.
how
No, carry on.
would you use the box? Would you use the box?
Yeah. I would. I think this is very simple grammar. I don't think there is a lot to discover when it comes to can and can't, right? So I think that perhaps presenting language like this could save time, and then we practice so that students see how it works, and then we can get to personalized practice as soon as possible, right?
Yes.
So this
So-
first exercise, exercise A, would very likely take 3 minutes.
Yeah, well,
Maybe not even that, right?
because they're beginners, right? Like it's A1. They probably don't know. They don't have that much, let's say, schematic knowledge. So yeah, but I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I would say this would probably not take more than 3.
Yeah, just can't.
Highly doubt it. Especially because I mean the pictures are there, and this is something good about the layout. Again, the pictures are pretty clear, very good quality, very clear what's happening, can and can't, and there you go. All right. Yeah. Okay. Do you like the organization of tasks, like the way you have can and can't in the first one, and then the interrogative in B? Separated?
I can answer questions about the pictures. A can Ben swim? Yes, he can. Yeah, I think it's all right. It feels like exercise. Yes, because it is in a way a drilling. You're drilling the questions 6 times. Yeah, and you're probably gonna ask students to switch roles and then re-ask the questions again, right? So it's more drilling. But sure, I think it works. Especially for students at this level. This is going to feel very safe, especially if you do an open pair before you ask students to do it themselves, right? So it's going to be very, very clear for students what they're expected to produce, and they're very likely to be successful. So this can boost morale in class. I think it's a good idea.
Well, like I think, and this goes all together, the way the author is thinking, the way the exercises are organized, what approach is being used, it is a PPP and everything. But I mean, I think that the way I see this is that the author is thinking a teacher who's not very experienced, if they just follow everything in there, okay, ask students to read this and complete this. So they're going from that language presentation, which is the second P in the PPP lesson. Sorry, the first P, the presentation. And then we move on. And then when we get here, students are you do a drilling, and then you let students practice because, well, first of all, the drilling is the most controlled type of practice there is, right? But then students are going to be speaking already, so they go from the language presentation to a first practice with sentences, and then they are already using that in questions. So I think that the notion of being communicative, the making the lesson communicative is there. Like I
Yeah.
want to get you, I want to get the students to speak soon in the lesson, right? But
And this is
then, but
probably
then,
very motivating for students, right? Imagine you're in the beginner course. We don't know what unit this is, do we? Unit 10. Okay, so
unit
it's
10.
way on
Okay. Yeah.
in the course, but still, students are probably on their first year of learning the language, right? And then after this class, they will be able to ask, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you swim? Can you play the piano? Which is an interesting piece of language to have, right? I don't know. Imagine
Absolutely.
you in one class you learn how to do that in, I don't know, German. It's nice, right? You go like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. So I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you actually put yourself through the student's shoes and then actually think, oh, if I were to do that in German, that wouldn't be so easy,
Mm-mm.
right? So
It would
yeah,
not.
I really like the I
Yeah.
really like that rationale, Bruno. Bruno, what do you think about the choice of practice exercises that he had? Because like we had a fill in the gap, we had a like probably what's going to be a drilling plus a control practice, but students are speaking again, still very controlled.
Uh-huh.
And then you're moving on to a version of um find someone who,
Yeah.
right? Like probably something like that.
Mhm. I think again, this works. Clearly, it works. I just feel that exercise C, and since we cannot see the teacher's book, we don't know the suggestions that Richards adds in the teacher's books, in the teacher's book. But whenever you have an activity such as this one, can your classmate do things in part A? There should be, in my opinion, um, something to report afterwards. So maybe gather this information and draw a graph on the board with all the answers, like summarizing the abilities of the group, right? So that
Yes.
it's more interesting. Uh, can you tell if Interchange is a book for teens, for adults?
This one is for adults. This one's
Yeah.
for adults. Like,
Oh, so
like
adults would like to do that. Oh, so how many of the men in class can, I don't know, can fix cars? How many of the women can fix cars? And then you can have this play with stereotypes. So no man in the class can fix cars. So you can even, it might be fun to talk
make it
about it.
more,
And
you can make it more personalized, you can make it more fun.
yeah.
I agree. First, I really like the idea that you just had. Like, let's report that. I think it's actually kind of necessary. I do miss some sort of exercise in there after exercise C. I think that's not a good wrap yet.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's something like, okay, now tell your pair about 4 or 5 things that it's something that will make them
Mhm.
communicate and use can in a freer manner,
Mhm.
you know. But I gotta have
Yeah.
an idea for that, right? First of
Mhm.
all, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is a good rap,
Mhm. Yeah, and I really like the
considering their
pronunciation
level.
exercise. And I
Mm-hmm.
really like this pronunciation exercise, the difference between the affirmative can and the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's usually not, students would are very likely to think that the difference is the T sound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you're
It's
speaking,
not.
the T is very it's usually not there when you speak it,
Yeah.
right? Oh, so I can't dance. Yeah, we
Yes.
don't go like I can't dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
more
I
on the
mean, mostly like It's more like in the British English, that's how I condense. So it's I can't like
Yeah.
the longer, yeah. But
Yeah.
interesting anyway. I think the whole page would make up for a very, very nice lesson. Again, I think it's very personal. Like I myself, I don't see myself using this. I wouldn't. I don't think I would. Well, it depends on the learner you have, but unless you have something that some student who likes more authority, more like I think you call it authority learners, like the learners that have that kind of preference, the teacher who's explaining and telling them what to do, what not to do. I prefer things in which students would have to find the rule. So I wouldn't use the book. In this part, I'll keep the book closed. I'll probably come up with a different activity, and then have them tell, because there is one thing here, Bruno. The book's not talking about the meaning of can. Not necessarily. You still, okay, I'll sing. Sing is an ability. Sing is an ability. But you see, sing in all of the sentences. Maybe they're like, the students are, it's unit 10. So I'm sure they know other abilities, like many others. So maybe something different, my opinion, my honest opinion, and humble.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I think the meaning would be conveyed by the pictures.
Yeah. I do see your point. Yeah, I think you can. Again, you can, and then you can choose whether, like, if you think your students would do well. And also, Bruno, there's something that I think we never commented on this, but things tend to get old really quickly in the classroom, right? So why would you do teach every lesson inductively or deductively? Isn't it better to have some sort of, range and variety in there? So maybe you use this lesson as a more deductive lesson, and you just use the box, see how it goes, provide students with whatever they need, because maybe they will have a problem or not, right? And talk about that.
Yeah, I
Could
think
be a
so
thing.
too.
Yeah.
Variety is the
Yes.
spice of life, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I think we have a wrap, right?
I think we do.
Yeah,
Overall,
okay.
very interesting book, very straightforward. I feel it's very teacher friendly,
I
very
think it's
student friendly as well.
the most friendly of books. Like, it's the
Yeah.
friendliest, of books. Like, it's like, that's why it's so famous. That's why it's being used for so long, right? Because it's old.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
oh yeah, and this is 5th edition, I think.
5th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Not a lot of people have a 5th
very
edition.
successful.
Not a lot of them will have a fifth one. That's a lot.
No.
Well, folks, that's it for today. We go on with this series. We do have plans for new things coming up in the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, dá essa moral pra gente. Ajuda a gente a produzir mais conteúdo aqui. Come on. Click there and smash that like button, please. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye.